All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, I'm going to talk to you today about the budget boat. Budget boat. I keep seeing these sailing videos. It's like, we're going to buy a budget blue water cruiser, or we're going to buy a budget boat. And I'm like, well, they make it sound as if there's like, like this thing's like almost next to, like a great deal for next to nothing. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's true. There's a couple of ways to look at buying a boat budget-wise. If I could give you the one advice, this is my second boat, okay? Well, technically I've had 4 boats if you count my kayaks. 6 if you count my inflatable dinghies that sunk. But yeah, this is my second sailboat. Now I haven't sailed it in a while, so yeah, you can say, oh, this guy's a wannabe sailor, blah, 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 doesn't matter. But what I will tell you is what was told to me by people who had sailed for years and years and years. I lived at the yacht club on this thing for, like I say, 2 seasons in a row. Might as well say 8 months, like at least 8 months, probably more than that, of a liveaboard. So every day at the yacht club, going to work from this boat, coming back in the evening, take the boat out, come back to the slip, whatever, and go talk to other boaters, all that stuff. Get hang out in the yacht club on the hot days, whatever. And I talked to a lot of people, and everybody always says the same thing when you're buying your first boat, that you're better off to buy a better quality, smaller boat than something that you can actually manage and afford. So everybody wants the 50, the 40, the 50, the 60 footer. Okay, great. I would love to have a 40 footer. I can't see, there's very few boats over 50 feet that I would actually want. I'm just like, but I'm a single guy. I just don't need that size of boat, right? But most of the boats over 40 feet or 30 feet that I want are really fast boats. Like they're really fast boats. So for me, I want them because they're going to be breaking transatlantic records. That's what I want them for. So it's like, okay, it's a 40-foot boat, just happens to have 6-foot standing room, Spartan down below, but you got like 19 sails with it and all that kind of stuff. 8-10 foot draft, but you do like 10 knots and 5 knots of wind type of thing, 50 degrees into the wind, and you're like a real rocket ship, you know what I mean? And then off when you're doing like 15 knots or 20 knots or whatever it is. Yeah, that's a dream boat for me, something really fast, because it'd be fun. But that's not going to be a budget boat, is it? That's going to be a very expensive boat. So what do you consider a budget boat? Well, a budget boat to me is something that is ready to go, below its market value, okay, but it's not going to be free. Like, what is a budget boat? Like a $500 boat? Well, you're not going to find a very good $500 boat. What about these $1 boats that keep coming up in the YouTube videos? Oh, my $1 boat. The $1 budget boat usually turns into the $5,000 boat in mint condition that turns into a $30,000 boat as a $1 boat because it needs the deck replaced and all the hardware replaced and this and all that. And you get these people, they buy a boat that's not even designed for the intention that they want. It's just they found one at a good price. But then they're going to spend, it's like, okay, let's say I want to take this boat across the Atlantic. Could it do it? Yeah, it's a tumble home boat. As a 4-foot draft keel, okay, it's definitely not ideal, but I could definitely use it on the coast, sure. I wouldn't use it every, whatever. I'd have to modify the hatches. I would definitely have to put in heavier storm windows. These aren't bad, but I'd have to put in heavier ones. I would have to step the mast, and I'd have to do all kinds of stuff. So I'd end up spending 10 grand just to re-rig it. You know what I mean? Just to re-rig something that if I were to spend that extra 10 grand, for example, I was looking at, I don't know if you'd want to call it a blue water boat, but like a CNC 30 Viking 33, a really fast boat with a stepped mast and lightning fast, you know what I mean? Like for its size and time. I mean, it's a 80s boat, 70s boat, whatever. And it was like 20 grand. Okay, so to me, that's a budget boat because it gives you performance, it gives you the living economy, and you don't really have to modify it hardly at all. Maybe, maybe you would, but you get the idea. You could buy or like a Bayfield 29 or something like that. Okay, yeah, there you go. It's pretty much a pirate ship. The next upgrade you're going to do is cannons on the gunwales. Okay, great little boat. An Alberg 30. Okay, yeah, sure, you can take it out on the ocean. Sure, it's heavy rigging, heavy this, heavy that, and you get it for the price. Hughes 38. Okay, maybe it's not a true blue water boat, but it's big enough that it could almost be. And you find one in mint condition for 15 grand. You know what I mean? It's just a little older, and it doesn't have the best sailing qualities in the world, but it's pretty good. Maybe the boat might be a bit tender. So, like, again, don't make don't take the boats that I'm mentioning as the be all end alls here. Like, these are just examples. But for me, for example, the boat that if I wanted to go across the ocean, I would, rather than modify this, okay, I would buy its smaller brother, the Hughes 500, which was a 25-footer. It was basically the same boat, exact same boat, but it was designed as a mini offshore racer cruiser, or midget ocean racing club boat, is Mork boat. It had 5 foot. Basically, the instead of having the race trunk cabin here, it only came up maybe about that, so to about 5. But it was a boat I really wanted. They look great. Exact same hull, same keel, except for the keel is 5 feet instead of 4. Same, everything else is the same. That boat also had a really small hatch, meaning if you're out on the ocean and a wave came over the deck, you wouldn't have to worry about it flooding out everything in here. So in other words, I could buy that boat for $5,500 in probably mint condition with a trailer. Okay, with or without an inboard. I'd probably get one without the inboard just so I get the faster sailing qualities and just put an outboard on it. And that boat, if you rigged it up a little bit more, maybe put a couple of grand worth of equipment on it, maybe for about $75,000 to $8,000, you'd have a boat that would go across the ocean. Maybe not the most comfortable, being 25 feet and being no real standing room, but excellent sailing qualities. You know what I mean? Like, that would be a budget boat. So when I hear budget boat, I kind of cringe a little bit. Not as, oh, you don't know what you're talking about or anything. I don't do that, but I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? And for me, I want people to look at things for what they are. So if you're buying a boat that, okay, well, here's a 30-footer, it's really meant for an inland boat that you're going to put heavier rigging in on, think it's going to be great. Like, I mean, 4-foot draft, I definitely wouldn't want to be out on the Atlantic in a heavy storm with a 4-foot draft. I want 7 feet down there. Like, I want a gigantic fin. I want the boat to stay like this. I don't want it doing this. Yeah, on the river, Lake Superior, I take this on Lake Superior. The Ottawa River, where I've sailed it, I've had this sucker in 6-foot waves, no problem. This boat's built for it's got a tumble. The formula is right. It's just to get it that next step, it no longer becomes a budget boat. It becomes a project boat. That you're building it into something that it could never be. So I see a lot of people doing that with their boats, where they outrig it. Like, if you're going to retrofit it, like, for example, I got to do all the through hulls fairly soon. I'm going to try to get that done this year if I can. And you rig it up so that it's got the best gearing, everything you need, all the best rigging you can get. What am I doing here? Oh, going overtime. Always going overtime. Best rigging you can get to do that. The thing with the budget boat is that the budget boat is only a budget boat if you buy a boat that is designed to do what you need it to do without heavy modification. I guess is the best way I could sum it up. It would have to be a boat that suits all your needs, okay, for around or below its market value. That would be a budget boat. But what is a budget boat? A budget boat is going to be based on your income. If you make $1 million a year, suddenly, you got a lot more plethora of budget boats, right? If you make 10 grand a year, suddenly a $10,500 boat like this, which was just about mint condition when I bought it, needs a little bit of work now because it's been sitting for a while, but Suddenly this isn't a budget boat. This is an expensive boat. This is way out of my league. This took me a couple of years to save up for. So the budget boat thing, I just get really cringy about it because I think the problem is that a lot of people get misled to think that budget boat means cheap. It doesn't mean cheap. There are no cheap boats. Cheap boat, the cheaper the boat, usually the more money you got to put into them to make them work. I always say I recommend buy a better quality, smaller boat. If you want a 30 footer, but you don't have the budget for a 30 footer, buy a really good 26 footer. You know what I mean? Or a 27 footer. 26, 27, that's when boats start getting stand up room and stuff like that. Depends on what you're doing, you know. Like if you're going to be on a river all the time, do you really need a 30 footer? You know, like other than the speed and stuff like that, formulas. Again, if you're a regular sailor, you'll already know what you need. But it's just something I thought I'd bring up, that the whole budget boat thing is a little bit misleading. So just watch out when you watch these channels that kind of sell you the budget boat's the way to go. Because the budget boat, again, those $1 boats that you have to put 10 grand or 20 grand or 30 grand into, or a lot of times these $1 boats, like I could have had 5 free boats. The deal is that they had to leave the yacht club. I only wanted them, if I would have had a pickup truck at the time, I would have taken them, smashed them all to bits, took all the hardware off, sold the hardware and the masts and everything like that, and then recycled the keels for the lead. Yeah, I wanted to do that. But I didn't do that because somebody else did that, and I didn't have a ways to get them out of there. But those boats were free for a reason, because they were no longer beyond, they were beyond fixing. If you have to replace a deck on a boat, you might as well buy another boat. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe I'll make that the next video, is to what boats you should walk away from buying.